Hello guys! Welcome to another vlog. My name is Omar and I'm a new Filipino nurse here in the US. When it comes to accomplishing our life goals, we frequently ask how long will it take? Gaano ba katagal? Ilang months ba? Ilang taon ba ako maghihintay? Maybe you're watching right now because you want to be a nurse in the US someday, or you're already on your way there. Today I'm going to share with you my US immigration timeline, my experiences, and how long would it take for a nurse from the Philippines to live and work in the US through a staffing agency. If you find this video interesting, please keep on watching. First and foremost guys, I made this video because I've read in the comment sections of my previous vlogs that most of my humble subscribers want to know my US immigration timeline. So here it is guys. Let's start with the agency reveal. Disclaimer lang po, this is not a sponsored video. My company is Shearwater Health Incorporated. I just wanted to let you know that my experience with this agency has been wonderful so far, since they are very professional with the immigration process, and most importantly, they take good care of its employees like myself. Working for a staffing agency means that you are employed by the agency and not by the hospital. However, the agency will cover all the expenses for the immigration processing until deployment. All you need to do is to comply with the requirements to ensure that your documents are processed on time. Yes, guys, I am here in the US without spending a lot of money because my agency paid for everything. Isn't that amazing, guys? Well, in my experience, I had no problems and everything went smoothly until I started working here as an operating room nurse. And guys, when it comes to pay, I am satisfied and well compensated as an entry-level nurse despite the fact that I have prior experiences as a nurse. But compared to my previous jobs, in the Philippines and in Singapore, my salary here in the US is way better. You just have to manage your finances wisely. Hindi pwedeng buhay mayaman ka kasi dollars nga ang kita dito, pero dollars din ang ginagastos. So kapag di ka nagtipid, wala ka rin may ipon. And guys, you know what? I'm very grateful and willing to complete my contract as courtesy to my agency, which provided me the opportunity to come here easily, and most importantly, it's legally. If you want to be referred to my agency, please email me here as I flash on the screen. You know what guys, the path that I've taken, why I'm here in the US is great for people like me who do not have the means to cover all the costs of working here in the US, do not have a family here in the US to guide them through the process, but still want to pursue a career here in the US. Without further ado, let me walk you through how long would it take for me to get here. So, here's my timeline guys. Stage number 1, acquire a BSN degree. In May 2017, I graduated from Rizal Technological University with a Bachelor of Science in Nursing. In an ideal scenario, you would have 4 years to complete BSN degree in the Philippines, which didn't happen to me. I graduated late from college because of life and family circumstances. And for me, this is the hardest part of my US journey because it took me 8 years to finish college. I had to stop during my second year in college and work as a sales clerk in supermarkets, department stores, and other places before returning back to school to complete my nursing degree. Naalala ko nun guys, akala ko di na talaga ako makakatapos ng college. And ingit na ingit ako dun sa mga classmates ko na tuloy-tuloy yung pag-aaral. Nasuot nila yung nursing uniform. And I remember guys, na yung kapitbahay namin tatanungin pa ako, "Oh, Omar, graduate ka na ba?"
"Oh, Omar, graduate ka na ba?"
Kasi siya, graduate na. And knowing na nag-work na ako noon sa supermarket, sabi ko na lang sa kanya, hindi pa kasi nag-stop ako. Di ba medyo masakit yun guys, but here I am nakatapos after 8 years. You know what guys, kahit late ako nakatapos ng college and ang hirap ng buhay nung mga panahon yun, I am very blessed to have a family na laging nakasuporta sa akin at nag-sacrifice para makatapos din ako ng pag-aaral. And I'm very grateful to God to have a gift of family like this. So a piece of advice sa mga college student dyan, be grateful that you are studying and your parents have the financial means to support you. And all you have to do is to make them proud by staying focused on your studies and completing it on time. Don't lose hope. Pray for your dreams and keep chasing them. Huwag kang susuko sa pangarap mong makatapos. When the time comes, you will be able to return to school and complete what you've started. Just keep that vision and fire in your heart, and I know God listens and knows the perfect time. when you will finish your studies. The next stage is to pass the Philippine Nursing Licensure Examination, or the PNLE. After graduating college, I immediately enrolled in a review center. It's Apple Review Center. I studied there for over 6 months before passing the PNLE in November 2017. Going to the US is not something that I'm thinking of about that time, and my goal was to work and earn money and get nursing experience after the board exam. Kasi sa tinagal-tagal ba naman ng panahon bago ako nakagraduate, sobrang excited ako maging nurse sa hospital. Kasi di ba nakaka-proud na may natapos ka na at nurse ka na, tapos after makapasa ng board exam. But if I could go back in time after the PNLE, I would review and take the NCLEX exam right away to save time and effort. However, as previously stated, going to the US was not on my thoughts at that time because I had no idea where to begin, and I just wanted to have or to make money to help my parents, while also gaining experience as a nurse with the goal of working abroad someday. Next is nursing clinical experience. After passing the PNLE, I began my nursing profession at a private tertiary hospital in the Philippines. I was assigned in the operating room that time. And as a recent graduate, I was overwhelmed by the long work schedules, the high volume of OR patients, seniority cultures, low pay, and difficulties of our profession as nurses. I was really challenged at the time, but I endured and continued to acquire experience to pursue my dream of working abroad someday. And naalala ko nun guys, talagang mahirap maging nurse sa Pinas, lalo na sa dami ba naman ng pasyente, tapos fresh graduate ka pa, and in terms of experience, wala pa talaga. Kaya nahirapan ako sa simula. And sa OR pa ako na-assign that time, which is very particular sa mga procedures, and dapat standard talaga yung galawan guys. Medyo strict din nun yung mga senior nurses ko, dala na siguro ng pagod sa work. Tapos, as a new nurse that time, tatanong-tanong ka pa sa kanila kung anong gagawin. Syempre, di mo alam, di mo pa alam. Tapos, sa dami ng information, nakakalimutan mo rin yung iba. Mga ganong struggles ba guys, as a new nurse at that time. But, instead of losing hope, I set aside those difficulties and stay focused on the long-term goal of working in a better environment someday. And most importantly, I maintain a positive attitude and believe that my skills and knowledge as a nurse will improve over time. Then, while working as an OR nurse, my nurse manager informed us that our hospital would be offering a master's degree program at our own expense. So, nakatie up yung aming hospital sa isang university here in Metro Manila. And I volunteered to join because I believe that it will be a wise decision for my future career growth, as well as to compensate for the fact that I graduated very late from college. Sabi ko sa sarili ko noon, kahit mahirap, matatapos ko to para makabawi ba, kasi nga sa tagal kong nakatapos ng college. Then the program began in 2018, making it tough to work and study at the same time, especially as I approached the thesis phase of the program. And thankfully, I graduated on time in December 2019. Overall, it took me a year to finish it, and it was very tough ride, but it was all worth it. Next guys is I started my Usrn dream in 2021. Of January, I began to consider taking my nursing profession to the next level, which is to work abroad. And during that time, I was approaching 3 years in the OR. And I've learned of an agency that sponsors competent nurses to take the NCLEX exam up to deployment in the US. From a colleague who was set to fly there the next month. She brought food to the OR as a farewell gift to us, her colleagues. Then the thought came into my mind at the time that if God allows, one day I could be able to do the same thing. Then I started to browse in the internet for the information on how to fly in the US and work as a nurse. And I discovered that doing it on my own would be very expensive. I admit to myself that time that I was unable to continue since I do not have the financial means to support the US immigration process. Because of this, I decided to apply with Shearwater Health on January 28, 2021. They had a series of interviews and exams to pass. And fortunately, I was accepted, and they provided me the contract, which I signed for around 3 years of processing, before the arrival to the US. I was extremely hopeful that time and was very happy and excited. And now I have the opportunity to work in the US as an immigrant, sponsored by my agency. The next is application and preparation for the NCLEX. We start with the APT or the Authorization to Test. In February 2021, my agency helped me with the National Council Licensure exam or the NCLEX application procedure. I just completed with the appropriate forms and my agency handled all the paperwork. The NCLEX exam consists of 145 items and it's quite challenging because the questions are mostly situational and more like case studies. Following that, my agency provided me with the review materials and apps while waiting for the authorization to test. After 10 months of waiting, my ATT was eventually released in December 2021 and I booked my NCLEX on March 28, 2022. I temporarily resigned from my hospital nursing work and applied for an online nursing job to free up time for my NCLEX review. My agency allowed me to leave the hospital setting for only 6 months, after which I had to return to clinical experience until my deployment to the US was confirmed. I also recommend that after receiving your ATT, you have to book your exam right away in order to be motivated to begin the review process. Next one, guys, is the NCLEX preparation and exam results. After receiving my ATT and booking for my exam date, the final preparation for the NCLEX exam began. During that time, I joined the NCLEX Amplified. It's an online review course run by Sir J.M. Ramos. Again, this is not a sponsored video. This was only based on my personal experience. I'm not sure if this review center is still around, but overall, it was a great experience. It happened during the pandemic and the review was completely online. What I can say is that their program is very effective, affordable, and motivating. Since enrolling in a different review center was my personal choice, therefore my agency didn't cover the fee that is less than 10,000 pesos that time. It is because my agency had already provided me the Kaplan review. It's also an online review, but I just assessed myself and realized that I needed a review center to mentor me in order to pass the exam. However, I still used the Kaplan question bank in conjunction with the NCLEX Amplified review. Overall, I spent 3 months studying extensively for the NCLEX exam before passing. So my NCLEX journey took around 10 months for the application and 3 months for the review for a total of 13 months. You know what, guys, passing the NCLEX exam is one of the most rewarding experiences that you can have in your life as a nurse. That is how I felt that time because I had poured my heart and soul into the review process while also working with my online job. Next, guys, is the I-140 petition. My agency submitted the I-140 petition on June 21, 2022. This was also my priority date for the USCIS. The I-140 petition allows an employer in the US to request a permanent residency or a green card for a foreign citizen like me based on their occupation. And after a month, the USCIS sent me a receipt notice for the I-140 petition, and after 5 months of waiting, I received the approval notice from the USCIS on December 6, 2022. Overall, in my experience, it took me approximately 6 months from the petition filing to approval. Next, guys, is the visa screen. My agency began submitting for the visa screen to CGFNS on December 13, 2022. And the visa screen is a process that must be completed by a certain foreign educated healthcare professionals such as the nurses who want to work in the US. It involves a thorough evaluation of our credentials, including the education, the licensure, and English language proficiency to guarantee that they meet the US standards. In this stage, the agency guided me on how to upload and submit documents such as the English test results, the Usrn license, and transcript of records for verification. On February 2023, I got my visa screen certification, which is valid for 5 years from the issuance date. Overall, this process took me more than 2 months to finish. Next is prepared and passed for the English exam. One of the requirements for the visa screen is to get the required English exam score for the nurses. Initially, I began reviewing for the IELTS in June 2022 and took the exam in October. Unfortunately, I received a 6.5 score on the speaking test, which falls short for the 7.0 required speaking score for the visa screen. And fortunately, at the time, the PTE or the Pearson Test of English was already valid for the visa screen. As a result, my agency asked if I wanna take the exam, the PTE exam instead, because it's a computer-based examination, and they believe that I have a better chance of getting the score that I need for the visa screen. And without any hesitation, I promptly applied for the PTE in October 2022 and passed on January 15, 2023. Overall, I spent more than 7 months on this phase. It could have been shorter if I had received the required score for the IELTS on my speaking test, but I'm still grateful to have obtained the target score for the PTE for my first attempt. Next one, guys, is my Singapore nursing journey. I decided to work in Singapore as a backup plan during that time because the application process could take some time and I expected it to be longer. Also, because my agency allowed me to work outside the hospital for only 6 months, they required me to return to work at the hospital until my deployment to the US during that time. I chose to work in Singapore since it is closer to the Philippines and offered a great opportunity to learn about the first world country healthcare standards. And in addition, I was thinking that if I could save some time for my allowances in the US, I would have a greater chance of doing so in Singapore than in the Philippines due to the salary differences. Fortunately, I was hired as an OR nurse in Singapore, where I worked for around 1 year and 7 months before being deployed to the US. Next, guys, is the NVC Stage. My agency paid for the TS-260 fee bill in February 2023. The NVC document filing started in March of the same year and includes the PSA birth certificate, Senomar or marriage certificate if you are married, as well as the medical such as the MMR, Hepa B, Tdap, and the COVID vaccines. On April 14, 2023, I obtained the DQ status or the documentarily qualified status, which indicates that the NVC step was already completed. Overall, I took around 2.5 months to complete the stage. Next, guys, is the client matching. This is the interview with the hospital that I'm working with. On April 24, 2023, I was scheduled for an interview at the client hospital here in Connecticut, USA. I was interviewed by the nurse manager, charge nurse, senior nurse, and the nurse educator for an hour-long Zoom panel interview. You know what, guys? The senior nurse that interviewed me is also a Filipino, and his name is Kuya Cesar. My feeling that time was very proud that there's a Filipino that is a senior nurse in the workplace that I will be working in. And I can see that he is very smart and professional, which I can attest as we are colleagues now. He is one of my mentor in the OR and looking forward to be as good as him in the future. Overall, the interview was a great experience and I was glad that I could answer their questions at that time. And after 3 days, I received a result and I was delighted that I passed. Then my agency sent me the job offer and accepted the offer afterwards. I was so lucky that time because I just waited for only 10 days after my NVC was approved to have a client hospital interview. It is because it depends on the availability of the client hospitals and your desired state. Well, for me, guys, I didn't choose my state because I merely prioritized time, so I grabbed the first offer. Next, guys, is the Connecticut license endorsement. Since my initial USRN license was acquired in New York, my agency assisted me in securing a license endorsement for Connecticut from April to August of 2023. In total, I just waited for more than 3 months for this period. Next is everyone's favorite, the retrogression. From July 2023 to January 2024, the visa bulletin for EB3 visa had a retrogression for over 6 months. And during this time, there was no guarantee that the retrogression would return to current status. However, I didn't anticipate to end it soon. In fact, I was expecting the worst at the time. Also, it's okay on my end because I was still working in Singapore and enjoying my job during the retrogression. Fortunately, my priority date of June 21, 2022 became current after only 6 months of waiting. Next, guys, is the US Embassy interview. After the retrogression that ended in January 2024, my agency quickly arranged an interview at the US Embassy in Manila, Philippines for February 23, 2024. However, it would be very difficult for me to get home for the interview because I was working in Singapore at that time and had already used my annual leave. I'd also rather be interviewed in Singapore because it will save time and money on the airfare and other expenditures compared to returning back in the Philippines. Therefore, I decided to file a case transfer from Manila to Singapore for my interview on January 20. After that, I waited for just a month before receiving an email indicating that my case transfer had been accepted. Only after that, I was able to schedule my interview at US Embassy in Singapore on March 20, 2024. The process was quite convenient with nearly no lines. I didn't regret transferring my case to Singapore, and fortunately, I passed the US Embassy interview. Then, after 6 days, on March 26, 2024, I received my US visa. Overall, the process took me more than 3 months, including the case transfer, which could have been shortened if I had chosen to be interviewed in the Philippines. Next, guys, is I received the green card receipt from my agency. After I acquired my US visa, my agency quickly began my green card application for $235 on April 4, which is one of the prerequisites that I must bring with me on my travel to the US. Next, guys, is the resignation from work in Singapore. In June 2024, I resigned as an OR nurse in Singapore and rendered for a month. I have not been paid in a month since I breached my 2-year contract. And it was very challenging, but I made it. My last day of work in Singapore was on July 2, 2024. Finally, guys, flight to US from Singapore to Connecticut, USA. On July 16, 2024, I finally flew from Singapore to the United States. I also have a blog on this, which you can view by clicking the link above. My first work began on July 29, 2024. Also, on July 30, 2024, 2 weeks after my arrival, I received my physical social security number through mail. I got my permanent residency card or the green card on August 27, 2024, almost 2.5 months after my entry date here in the US. To summarize, guys, my US immigration timeline took over 3.5 years to finish. In a perfect scenario, it would be less time, but it may take longer if things happened unexpectedly, such as the retrogression and other factors. It was a long and difficult process, but I believe it was worthwhile. Now, my next goal is to adapt and survive here in the US. Being alone here is truly tough and mind-blowing experience. Every time I feel down, I remind myself that I am blessed that I'm here. And there's no other option but to continue my American dream that most Filipino nurses are dreaming for. There's no turning back but to always push forward. And that is all, guys. That is my US immigration timeline. You know, guys, it's a long and tedious discussion, but I truly want to share with y'all. And for those who want to work here, just start and finish. It doesn't matter how long or quickly it takes. What matters is that you started and there's no other way but to finish it. Thank you again, guys, for watching my vlogs, and I hope you enjoyed it and found it useful in some way. Guys, if you want to see more videos like this, please like, share, and subscribe. See you on the next one, guys. Bye!